And we are back, and this hour of the Jim Leach Show is brought to you by First Care Healthcare, providing the highest quality of home health care to help you get back to your active lifestyle and keep you out of the hospital. Call 718-4889 for more information. We're talking with the candidates for Sangamon County Coroner this morning, the Republican incumbent Cinda Edwards, Democratic challenger Jerry Curry. And I have to note for the record, and by the way, this interview is also being videotaped, will go up on our website at WMAY.com, but I have to note for the record that Coroner Cinda Edwards is wearing the closest thing that I have seen to a coroner's uniform that I think I've ever encountered here, where you've got actually a badge emblazoned, embroidered onto the shirt and things. And it's a different look, and I guess it is indicative of a different era and a different approach in the coroner's office.
Right. Well, you know, we've tried to professionalize the office and bring it up to current standards that other coroner's offices in counties our size are achieving. And one of the things we're doing too is we're moving towards ABMDI, which is the American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigators. So we'd like to get all our deputy coroners have that certificate. So.
You inherited a very unusual situation. Your predecessor, who was under a great deal of fire for things that were viewed as lax, not up to standard, maybe sometimes not even up to the requirements of the law in operations of the office. Take us from day one when you came into the office to now. What has happened in the coroner's office to change that situation?
Well, it's been a very busy year and a half. One of the first things I did before I even went into office was I traveled to both McLean County and Champaign County, which had good reputations of running a solid coroner's office, and spent the day with each one of those offices, seeing what best practices they used. And so that was before I was really even sworn in. So I was able to hit the ground running a little bit with that. So we've just, you know, immediately when I went into the office, we had almost immediately the Maximus study. And there was even the question of doing away with the coroner's office. And we came through that study pretty well. I think they were pretty pleased with what we had done. I'd already had a good grasp on getting that procedure and policy manual out and making some significant changes in the office.
Jerry Curry, you had been a critic in the past of the previous coroner and things that had happened in the office then. Your assessment of where the coroner's office is today, has enough changed in your view? What more needs to be done?
Well, everything my opponent says she's done is what she what she reported to the county board last November's county board meeting. Everything. We were on the SJR interview editorial board meeting the other day, and she touted what she's done and brought to the office. But that was the exact same report that she gave to the county board November 11th of last year. I don't see what she has done in the past year to bring a pathologist back into Springfield, to keep the autopsies here locally, to bring an educational program to the coroner's office. I just think there's a lot more we can do.
Let's talk about the pathologist question. Right now, we are sending bodies, transporting them to Bloomington for autopsies to be done there in order to have that board-certified pathologist, forensic pathologist, to be able to conduct those. How would you change that if you were elected coroner, Jerry Curry? What would you do, and what would it cost to make that happen?
Well, we need to retain the services of a qualified pathologist, whether it be a forensic pathologist or a pathologist that has some experience. But we need to bring those services back to Springfield. We need to stop transporting our family members 75 miles away for an autopsy that can be done here locally.
But this is a crucial distinction in terms of whether we use a certified forensic pathologist or just a pathologist that is certified in some other area. Is it essential to use a forensic pathologist in your view?
Well, there's fewer than 350 board-certified forensic pathologists in the country. We had one living here in Sangamon County that we're not using anymore. If we could find a forensic pathologist to come to Springfield, I would be more than happy to retain the services of that individual. Dr. Grant Johnson, who served Sangamon County for decades, world-renowned pathologist, was not a forensic pathologist. Dr. Travis Heineman served Springfield well. These are both competent physicians, both competent pathologists. If we had a competent pathologist, that would be suitable. If I had my druthers, would I take a forensic pathologist in a heartbeat?
You referenced the forensic pathologist, board certified, that is currently living in Springfield, that we're not using his services. Would you use his services if you were coroner?
I would have to interview with John to see what his. I just don't know. I haven't talked to John about that.
And Dr. John Ralston, we're talking
That's
about
correct.
here. Coroner Cinda Edwards, why are we still transporting bodies to Bloomington, which does not seem like an ideal situation for anybody, taxpayers, families, anyone? Why is that situation still with us today?
Well, first of all, as far as families go, we take the decedent or their loved one up there, stay with them, and then bring that decedent back, and oftentimes even deliver that person to the funeral home. You know, what's really not ideal is the Sangamon County citizens having a forensic pathologist who isn't doing his job correctly. And I think we went through that once. I worked with Dr. Ralston for quite a time. We had meetings, we had emails, we had numerous communications trying to fix the problem, and it did not get resolved. And so I made the decision to go up to Bloomington, where Dr. Scott Denton and Dr. Yeomans are absolutely excellent. And Dr. Denton is world-renowned forensic pathologist. And so he does really good work. Citizens of Springfield are getting great work. I am currently working on recruiting a forensic pathologist. I have a lead on someone who's interested in locating to Springfield, and she would be just finishing her fellowship in forensic pathology. Now, keep in mind, you know, you have to go to school after college for about 10 or 12 years to get through the part where you actually finish your fellowship in forensic pathology. It's a very difficult program.
So would she be considered board certified in forensic pathology?
She would be board eligible.
Board eligible, but
yeah, I mean, nobody when they finish their fellowship would be board certified. You spend a period of time after you finish the fellowship, and then you take your boards within a certain period of time.
Jerry referenced several prior pathologists with very good reputations who were not forensic pathologists. Yeah. Is it essential to have either board certified or board eligible forensic pathologist?
Well, here's the thing. That was many years ago when Grant Johnson did that, and he was a very unique individual, and he had a very keen interest in forensics. Most pathologists today, times change. Most pathologists today, what they do is they look at under the scope, and they look at biopsy tissue samples, slide smears for blood, things like that. Okay, and occasionally they will do what we call a house autopsy or an autopsy for the hospital. But these people work for the hospital, and so they don't do autopsies for coroners. They just simply don't do them. Okay,
so again, finding someone who's willing to do that is a difficult search. You mentioned you have the possibility of bringing someone in.
Right.
What would that cost taxpayers compared to what we are paying now? Obviously, factoring in the transportation costs back and forth to Bloomington, which cannot be cheap. So,
well, I explained to the editorial board, it's kind of a little bit of a wash because we're doing our own transport up to Bloomington. So we don't have to pay another entity to do that. And in addition, there are certain costs up in Bloomington that are less. For instance, X-ray is much less than if we do the autopsy at the hospital. Their X-ray prices are higher. And so also the forensic pathologist in Bloomington, they do their own photography. At Memorial and St. John's, we have to pay the medical photographer. So that's about $125 right there. So, you know, and then each X-ray, there's probably a $200 to $300 difference just in an X-ray.
Can we use that leverage of taking that business to Bloomington, negotiate a lower price with the local hospitals?
Well,
here?
I did already. Actually, the price I negotiated is about a third of what regular X-ray prices are, and they're still much higher than what we can get in Bloomington. Bloomington has a basic machine. The quality of X-rays that you need for forensics is not quite. They don't have a digital system and stuff, but you really don't need that forensics. What you're looking for is in a homicide, we're looking for bullet fragments, and in infants, we're doing a total body, making sure they don't have any fractures from previous child abuse.
Bottom line, when you factor in that some costs are higher in Springfield than in Bloomington, but we would pay less in the transport cost to do those autopsies here, paying someone who is fairly fresh out of school and out of their fellowship, as opposed to the experienced Dr. Denton, bottom line, does it cost us more or less to do that if you can make that change?
Well, I think that it would probably be about even, and keep in mind that whoever, if we are able to recruit somebody, they will probably have a loose association with Dr. Denton. And these forensic pathologists, they're kind of like independent contractors. And so, but they form a loose relationship, they will cover each other, review each other's cases, and Dr. Denton would take that new person under his wing and probably even co-sign cases, review cases until that person was board certified.
Jerry Curry, staffing budget within the coroner's office, is it sufficient at this point? Do you see a need for more resources? Could we actually get by with fewer resources for taxpayers? What's your assessment of the structural makeup fiscally of the coroner's office?
I believe the budget is adequate at this current time. But I think we need to take some of that budget and realign some of the expenditures and use some of the resources that we have in the county to get more educational programs up and going, to almost put the coroner out of business or educate people on just how to live a safer life.
Is that an appropriate function for the coroner's office, Coroner Edwards?
Yeah, we do community outreach, and a lot of it's with the high schools. We do prom programs. We do do not text and drive programs. And, another statistic that is kind of disheartening in this profession is the number of suicides and drug overdoses. So I'd like to get some programs going that bring up awareness on those issues.
We're just about out of time. I'd like you each to make one last statement to our listeners this morning about why you are seeking this office and why you are asking for their vote. Coroner Edwards, let's begin with you.
Well, I stepped into an office that was more or less in disarray. I've brought that office around, and it's operating at the modern standards that are expected of a coroner's office. Now, do we have some ways to go? We do. I'd like to make some additional improvements, but we have the web-based coroner's computer program, so we're able to be a lot more efficient with that. And I'd like to develop some more community outreach and move forward with what I've started.
Jerry Curry, challenger for the Office of Coroner.
Okay. Well, I believe it's a time for a change in the coroner's office. The past several years have shown us the impact the coroner has on the local death investigation and the effect the coroner has on the family of grieving in the grieving process. I believe the coroner's responsibility and duty to protect the residents of Sangamon County, but at the same time, and more importantly, I believe it's protecting the rights and the dignity of the deceased and their family members. And I believe I have those qualifications to bring to this office.
Sangamon County Coroner Cinda Edwards, challenger Jerry Curry, thank you again both for your time. We appreciate it very much this morning. Thank you.